We're live. We are live on X right now, the Church Ball Twitter account. BYU moves on to the Sweet 16 in a thriller over the Wisconsin Badgers. Everybody listening right now, if you're in the live chat, excel, breathe. BYU pulls it out, 91-89. The Cougars are going to the Sweet 16 for the first time since Jimmer Fredette in 2011. Chase.
I almost can't believe it. I actually, I know this team is good. And it's not like this is some magic, like no one saw this coming. They were a really hot pick. And they're a really good team, the hottest in college basketball towards the end there. But just something about being a lifelong BYU fan, living through all this, where we were at in January and being here now it's unbelievable. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Think about this. Let's go back even further. Mark Pope takes the Kentucky job. Imagine someone telling you where this program would be at this point when Mark Pope takes the Kentucky job.
Yeah. I mean, Dallin Hall enters the portal, Richie Saunders. Everyone's like, who on earth is BYU basketball going to be?
Who's going to be the coach?
Yep.
Now look at it. They've got their coach. They've got the recruits coming in. They're winning ball games. Sweet 16 in year one at BYU. The number one thing is it's the new era of BYU basketball has arrived. This is totally different. Throw every voodoo thing from the past of BYU hoops out the window. That's all irrelevant now. We are in a completely different era of BYU basketball, and it started in year one of his time, Kevin Young. Unbelievable. And also, Chase, quick shout out to us. We called this second weekend in the preseason. Shout out
to us. People probably thought we were really crazy. We actually probably thought we were a little ambitious for a sec, but we never wavered. We never wavered.
But the thing is, we were confident, man. Like, we saw this team, we go, dude, this is just completely different. This isn't a normal BYU team. I don't know what BYU team in the past wins this game, dude.
That is exactly what I wanted to start out with. Through all the runs, all the big shots, John Tanji was incredible tonight. I don't know what 11's name is. He did get hit in the balls pretty hard. He was hitting everything. And Wisconsin's
Blackwell had 20 plus.
Yeah, Wisconsin's a dang good team. Shot amazing from the free throw line, all that stuff. Through all the runs, BYU answered and answered and answered again. Obviously, we all got a little nervous there at the end. A couple turnovers. Flagrant 2 gets mixed in there, and incredible shots by Wisconsin. All of a sudden, you're like, are they about to blow this? But other than that, every single time that Wisconsin could have gone on a run, momentum could have completely shifted. BYU did not waver, didn't flinch.
And Chase, this played out a little bit differently because BYU did have the lead most of the game. I know we were patting ourselves on the back pretty early on this podcast, but I don't care. It's very warranted. Our preview could not have been more spot on outside of maybe the cannon catching stuff because he didn't even play tonight. And, Bosco, he had a 3 and he played some decent minutes in the first half and whatnot. But this was going to be an all-offense game, a ton of free throws, and we talked about it. It was going to be tough for BYU to defend John Tanji and these guys one-on-one because they're going to get put into these one-on-one situations where they're going to foul a ton, and we saw the fouls tonight. Tanji shot, 17 free throws tonight off the top of my head?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more, something like that.
BYU knocked down their free throws tonight. They also, like you said, they stopped all the big momentum shots. It was also a bit of a heavyweight fight. Even though BYU had an 8-point lead the majority of, honestly, the game at that point, it was still, when Wisconsin would hit a big shot, it didn't matter. Momentum killer right back. And then BYU would get a 13-point lead. Okay, Wisconsin, no, we're coming back. Bring it back down to 6. It was such high-level basketball. Without question, the game of the weekend in the NCAA tournament. It was the game of the day, and we both said this was going to be played into the 80s. You even picked BYU to go into the 90s as well. You almost nailed the score on the dot. And so this game was exactly how we thought it would play out.
Yeah. Again, we're not trying to say that we knew it. It's just was apparent and kind of good to see BYU be like, I think this is the game plan, and they executed it. They did what they wanted to do. Obviously, there's some defensive possessions. You want to control Tanji a little bit better. And stuff like that. But the one thing we weren't exactly right about, the bigs weren't as big as a threat from 3 as we may have thought. In fact, Wisconsin's bigs were pretty much
early on, though.
They did hit a couple early on, which did stretch BYU out. But Kava was a big factor in this game, as he always is, man. The stuff he does defensively, he played great offensively as well. I mean, everyone stepped up in these moments. This was almost the Dawson Baker game. And I think if he doesn't get ejected on a fairly bogus flagrant 2, if I might add, then he does something even more special. I think there's potential for that. I feel like they really could have used him there with his skill around the rim and what he was doing. Trevin Knell scored 14 points. Trey Stewart, 7, a big 3, really great defense, steals. Mawit Mag obviously locking down Tanji at the very end when it mattered most. You could go on and on about this whole team and how impressive it is. Also, Kevin Young coached a heck of a freaking basketball game. The rotations, the most timely timeouts I've seen in BYU basketball history.
When things were breaking down, you could tell nobody wanted the ball in that moment. They didn't know what they were doing. There was brown on all their shorts in that moment with like 40 seconds left. Kevin Young's like, I know it's my last timeout, but it was the right timeout to burn. And they drew up a great play out of the timeout as well to get Richie downhill. The other thing I want to mention, Chase, Yegor
I didn't
Demon.
even get to him.
11 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, and he shot 3 of 10 from the field, not great, but 3 of 3 from the free throw line. Those were 3 huge free throws and 1 turnover. He took care of the ball. Had that one bad out of bounds to Trevin Knell.
Yeah.
Timely, not great.
It wasn't it wasn't great.
What a game by Yegor Demon. His draft stock is through the roof. I've been texting with draft people during this game. It is head over heels. It is like the hard eyes, awooga, awooga. These people are falling in love with Yegor, and he's doing it the perfect time, making himself a ton of money going into the NBA draft next season or this offseason. What a game from him, man. To step up in this way and to not turn over the ball, and he just did everything tonight, man.
He was incredible. He was, I think it's fair to say, BYU's best player. I know he didn't have the most points, but the way that he controlled the game is what we've been talking about with Yegor Demon. He wasn't sped up. He just had that one turnover. Everything else, he was organizing the offense and finding the right guys. And I mean, 8 assists in a tournament game in college basketball, guys. That's nuts. The thing that I love the most, first off, he's done it 2 games in a row now.
Yeah.
And they've been the biggest games of his and BYU's life.
Yep.
And he has, and the whole team's adopted it. It started with Kaba bringing that energy that kind of like, screw you guys. Like, you guys can't talk to us. He 25 on Wisconsin Blackwell early on, like that whole out of bounds in the first half. You know, Yegor wasn't gonna take that crap, dude.
Yeah.
He hit that 3 right after, was chirping at the bench. Kaba's getting pissed. Dallin.
Yeah.
All these guys are just talking, and you can tell Wisconsin, it got under their skin and it hit their head, and they're flopping. And BYU's like, we're the baddest dudes in this gym.
Yeah.
Like, we don't give a crap who you are, where you're from, what you're ranked. Like, we're more physical than you. We can be better than you. We're going to beat you. And they just didn't give a crap.
That's why I've kept saying going into this tournament that the national narrative around BYU is they're a bunch of soft white Mormon boys. That's really, they think they're a bunch of choir boys out there playing this game. That's what the national media thinks when they associate basketball with BYU. It's just not the case. These dudes are the baddest dude when you walk in the gym. You talked about that after the Utah game. You go, this is what BYU needs to do. They need to come into the gym with that kind of swagger. You got to find that confidence. You got to come in saying, I'm going to kill these dudes. I'm going to be the guy today. I'm that guy. And I'm that guy, pal. That's what they're saying. They're coming into these games confident as all get out. And it just shows the chemistry, everybody being bought in, and that all stems from the coaching staff, man. It really does. 100%. And credit to every single one of these players for buying in, playing their roles perfectly, beautifully, and it's special, man. This is a really, really special season now.
And it's because of that. When the season was dark, we mentioned, right, that they needed to have a mentality. They got that mentality at UCF, where Kaba's waving goodbye as he leaves, and that's what I was like, we said after the post game, we're like, that's what we need to see from BYU. That is what has turned it around more than anything, in my opinion, is just the mentality going into these games. Richie Saunders afterwards, if you watch the interview, I'm sure everyone heard this, he's like, we knew we could be more physical than them.
Yes.
We knew we were, and that we could beat them. And so that's just what we did. And in the biggest moments, right, he gets the ball, he goes in the lane, gets fouled. Like, that's the assertiveness. That's the tough smash mouth basketball mixed with BYU's pace of play and 3-point shooting has coalesced into this beautiful brand of basketball. And I couldn't be happier to watch it. It was great to watch from both teams. Mind you, Wisconsin's really good too. And offensively, it was a masterclass from them. It was just incredible to see.
Yeah. And 2 things. One, I think from a neutral's perspective, you're watching this game and it was just fun basketball, high level fun basketball. And on the other side of this, I do want to give Wisconsin a ton of credit. John Tanji had a chance. If he made a game-winning shot in that game, we're talking about this is John Tonji's tournament. He's maybe the Marquise Noel of this tournament.
He's under our bed, dude.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he finished with 37 points, if I remember. Yeah, 37 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 10 of 18 from the field, 14 of 16 from the free throw line. Like we talked in the preview, that's what I was most concerned about, because with those bigs that can stretch out a little bit, it was having to defend one-on-one with either Down or Mawit. And even though Mawit's an elite defender and had the game-saving play right there stopping Tonji, it was still, he's so good, man.
So he did awesome.
Let me get this straight. Yeah, he missed 2 twos. One of them was the last shot of the game. Wow. Chase, BYU moves on to the Sweet 16. I'm inside church ball here for a minute. My wife's working on booking the travel for us.
We gotta get you out.
I gotta get out there. I have to. But anybody in the chat right now?
Who's not in the chat right now? It's popping. Shout out y'all in the chat.
Shout out everyone.
We're gonna read these off, man. Stick around and get your friends in here.
Yeah, put your takes in, questions, everything. Hop in the chat.
Shout out Mark Moody, my father-in-law. He says, "Let's go, Cougs." I'm starting early in the chat for you boys. He usually sneaks one and tries to sneak.
He's trying to sneak one. He's gonna backdoor one at the very end when we end the podcast part of it. Then he's gonna sneak one in. You going back to his place tonight?
Yeah, I am. I'll
nice.
See
him. Shout out, Mark. Right?
He says, "Have a good show." Shout out, Mark.
Love you, Mark.
Clark says, "This team." Couldn't agree more, Clark. Jack says, "Bruh, Jack, we got to hear the in person."
Shout out Jack. We might need to get Jack on a Zoom. Maybe I'll send him the link or something. Like, we might need to get him in here or something. Huge shout out to Jack. Please go follow him on Twitter. Great follow. The best BYU fan out there. He was doing videos. If you saw all the videos from us on the Church Ball feed, those were all from Jack Carpenter. He's the man. He's the GOAT. Shout out Jack. Please go follow him.
Yeah, he's the man. Also makes incredible memes. So,
yeah, great dude.
Guy. Chris Bond says this game was almost identical of UNC versus Baylor in 2022.
Yeah, that's a callback. Unless you're a UNC fan or a sicko college basketball fan, this was almost an exact callback. That game ended up going to overtime, and the reason he says that too, Brady Manick got ejected in that game for UNC, and Dawson Baker with a BS ejection in this game, and but luckily this game didn't go to OT. I didn't feel confident at all in the end. You have the pit in your stomach at the very end. I think everybody was praying. All of you guys, I better see you guys front and center at church tomorrow with the best fast offering I've ever seen.
That's extra tithing right there, baby. Yeah, I mean, I was ready to have my heart ripped out. Let's see. Hey, it's Jello 78 says LFG. Nolan Mickelson says, who's going to Newark? I think he's talking to the chat. And like Carter mentioned, working on some plans.
Working on it.
Jack Carpenter says this, "We're live" is going to hit like a Texas tab.
We're live.
We love it. Benefit Ropez, shout out Rope. He says, "My parlay got cooked." Well, we don't freaking care. All we care about is the Cougs.
Did he not bet BYU?
Oh, I'm sure he did. It's
I think I gave him a parlay last night. Or this morning during the preview, yeah.
Oh, so he's actually not happy.
Sorry, brother.
Lighten up, Rope.
I think Gonzaga was in. Creighton was in there.
It's a great night. Jack Carpenter says KY doing this in his first year is freaking unbelievable, and it
unbelievable. This doesn't happen.
This doesn't happen at ever, especially at this level with the NIL and where BYU was.
And it does happen at maybe a blue blood because you have, the resources and the history and the fan base behind it. But that's also sneaky. What's so special about BYU is, they don't have necessarily the history of a blue blood by any means, but they do have the resources and they definitely have the fan base behind it and the fan support. And that's what can propel this team going forward. I mean, you think about Hubert Davis in his first year, they had a wonky season. All of a sudden they were playing in the title game up big in the first half, and they choked away the biggest the biggest lead in NCAA tournament title game. Hopefully that doesn't happen to BYU.
Yeah, you really snuck that in there.
Yeah, I wanted to point that out. I mean, when I was at the game, and Hubert Davis in this Carolina program blew the biggest lead in NCAA title history. I don't think that gets talked about enough.
No, should we keep going on it?
No. We can move on.
No. It's all
but
good.
He did. I mean, okay.
Go Cougars, spelled go KEWGARS, says, "Can you imagine playing St. Mary's in the Sweet 16?" I can imagine playing.
There's some nightmares. There's going to be PTSD for some BYU fans with that. And two completely contrasting styles. I'm very curious to watch this Alabama St. Mary's game tomorrow. I think it's going to be fascinating. Alabama ranks first in the country in pace. St. Mary's ranks 360th in pace, and so which style wins out? And then Alabama's only a 5-point favorite, which I thought was wild when I saw that. And so we'll find out. Alabama looked shaky against Robert Morris. St. Mary's honestly should have lost that game to Vandy. Look, I'll tell you, BYU fans right now. I've watched a lot of both of those teams a lot this season. BYU has a shot against either of them.
Yeah, BYU's got a shot against anyone right now. The way that they're playing, the things that they've done, minus maybe your team, your second,
we're
second
not saying
team.
Your team. I'm a biased journalist. I'm not a fan of a team.
Minus maybe Duke, because they might be one of the best college basketball
We'll find out tomorrow.
I've ever seen.
They got a tough one against Baylor.
I like BYU against anyone right now, at least to compete and be in it. They'll have a chance to win that game no matter who it is. Looking forward to see who it is.
Yeah.
Dallin Olson says, let's go. Shout out Dallin Olson. Dallin R said, did Trey get the dunk at the end? He did. Did a little off the backboard to himself. Time it expired. So.
Oh, and we need to give Trey Stewart a heck of a lot of credit in this game. We talked about he was going to play a big role in this game tonight, especially defensively, but he made a couple plays on offense that were critical in this game.
Just being aggressive getting to the hoop. He got fouled that one time, hit both free throws, which is huge. Then again, immediately after, got that 3 in transition. That's what we talk about with this BYU team and what they're doing. Getting inside builds all the momentum for you to hit these outside shots. And he was pivotal in setting the tone defensively, and then awesome stuff offensively as well.
Going back, just think about that Arizona BYU game in Tucson. Just the fact they were knocking down those shots in those big moments, tough. None of these dudes were phased taking those shots and weren't scared. And that has transitioned into this point now where BYU's all of a sudden in the Sweet 16.
Here's something crazy.
None of these dudes were phased taking those shots and weren't scared. And that has transitioned into this point now where BYU's all of a sudden in the Sweet 16.
Here's something crazy. Remember when we were like, BYU might be the worst free throw shooting team of all time?
15 of 16 tonight, 94%.
Tonight.
And the only miss was who?
Who was that? I can't even remember.
Kay Bacada.
That's right. The only miss was Kay Bacada. He went 1 for 2.
2 for 3 tonight.
2 for 3.
Yeah, he had that and one.
That's right. Shout out Kaba.
67%. His percentage is flying up after that.
He can do no wrong in my eyes. What's funny, though, is going from that point to tonight, we're begging BYU to get fouled because we feel so confident with them at the line. We're begging them, like, just get a foul. Just be aggressive. You guys will knock them down and stretch this lead. Like, everything has changed. That's been the one that you can stare at the stat sheet and be like, holy cow, this is
And I think that coincides with the mindset part of it because you've played basketball before. We both played basketball before. Free throw shooting is not about mechanics or anything like that. That's a very small part of it. It's all mental.
Absolutely. And
especially at this level.
And in those moments, like you're talking about, I mentioned, in our preview that if it comes to the tight game at the end, I like BYU because they've shown so much poise in these tight games the last 2 months. And I wouldn't call it exactly poised. There was definitely some moments where it was not pretty, but getting it done regardless is huge. And that's what wins in March. Free throws win in March. We all talked about what wins in March. Chris Bond says playing St. Mary's in the next game would be hell. St. Mary's always has BYU's number.
Different BYU era, though. Shout out my brother Christian.
Shout out. Stuck for hours. Shout out McKay says justice for Dawson. I will be holding a school walkout on Monday. Stay tuned for details. School walkout in honor of free Dawson Baker.
I'll retweet it. Tag at Karter BA. I'll make sure to retweet
tag me
that.
too, McKay. We want to get all over that. And tag Church Ball. Niku. I'm probably saying that wrong. Nick. Sorry, dude. But he says go Coug. Shout out. Alex Beach says my parents just told me 31 for Wisconsin went to my high school.
Oh, well, shout out 31 from Wisconsin.
Shout out. I don't think he had
and then also, shout out Alex Beach. Other thing I wanted to mention, dude, how many noise complaints were filed in the state of Utah tonight?
Hopefully none, because maybe down south Utah Valley, I think everyone's on the same level, but maybe up here north. Got a little.
There's not fans up here.
Nolan Mickelson says, shout out to the Braun Heights Ward. Shout out Braun Heights Ward.
Shout out. Big stuff.
Travis Larson 32 says Wisconsin can go flop all the way back to Madison. Go Cougs. We were the better team all night.
They were the better team all night. John Tanji was the best player on the floor, and that's what the difference was, where he single-handedly almost took over that game by himself. And, well, not almost, he really did. And I can't believe that was the final shot they had to win it. Like, the way they were calling that game, how do you not just initiate contact and hope for the call?
It's a bummer for him to have an incredible game on the biggest stage. And all we're going to talk about is you're going to take a fadeaway, short, cornered like double pump. I mean, it was an incredible defense.
Yeah, no,
But
and credit to Moet and the team.
Yeah, we talked about with people we were watching, but shout out them. We're like, I would have been more scared if he just took a step back three the way he was playing. Like that would have been killer. Dallin Olson says, where can we donate to the KY statue fund? You can go ahead and Venmo Chase Rogers 0
or at Carter BA. It's a picture of Adam Morrison.
Yeah, whichever one.
I'll make sure that goes to a good cause.
Jack Carpenter says, I was told these Mormons were going to lose to VCU. A lot of people picked VCU.
A lot of people picked VCU. That was a trendy hot pick, but
it's March.
BYU, man. I mean, we'll see what happens, man. This is we'll see what happens.
Dallin Olson says, did the refs receive an NIL deal to call the game the way that they did? There were some shaky calls. I think both the technical and flagrant were like, really? Like, that's very soft. If you didn't hear on the broadcast, Moet Mag got that technical for just pointing up at the replay because the refs made an awful call and they were like, you can't do that. You can't do that. And teed him up. Extremely soft. Even our guys on the broadcast were saying it. And then the flagrant too, like,
what is Dawson supposed to do there if he's trying to get out of traffic or something? And they're like, that was clearly not incidental contact. It's like, I don't think Dawson Baker was trying to elbow that dude in the nuts. I think he was just trying to get out of that position.
Someone's got to ask him, man, if we were on C and we'd be in that locker room, I'd just be like, did you mean
is he allowed to?
Probably not.
I bet if you get a flagrant too, I bet they can keep you out of media.
Yeah, probably. But I'm sure he's with the team now and celebrating. He was awesome tonight. It really was a bummer. I'm just like,
look, also, if we were asking that question to him in the locker room, we're getting the most political answers right now because BYU won. And so it's like, hey, let's not ruffle any feathers.
Well, I think he'd be like, no, I didn't, because it's insane. Also, that guy's all up in his face, his cylinder. You expect to get hit, dude. Like,
I 100% agree.
It's a hard trap. Anyway, let's see here. Boy, we got a lot of people. Let's go. Nolan Mickelson that says the difference. Shout out Jaeger, the difference.
Shout out Nolan.
Going to the lotto. Lottery pick. Eli Bond says, what are the odds BYU beats Alabama? What do you think they need to do to beat Alabama?
Okay, first off, I think the spread in that game, if I have to do it off the top of my head, I think Alabama's only a 3-point favorite in that game. If I did it off the top of my head,
St. Mary's game.
Yeah, I think it would be a 2.5, 3-point game on the spread from Vegas. And what happens in that game is a carbon copy of what you saw tonight in the Wisconsin game, except turn the speed. It's like when you watch a video for a class and you put it on 1.75 speed and you're barely watching it and you're just like pretending to watch it. Let's be honest. That game's going to be on triple speed in that on Thursday night if Alabama wins. So I don't think it's a given that Alabama wins. I like Alabama against St. Mary's, but if BYU and Alabama play, it's going to come down to, with Alabama, the key is just don't fall into their trap of settling for threes, because the way Alabama plays defense, the paint is wide open. Teams can dominate in the paint. If you slow the game down a little bit just enough and you just keep getting to the paint, you're playing twos versus threes, but I think that's a game you're willing to play if you're BYU, because look, Alabama's going to shoot regardless. Take the twos. They're there against Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I mean, that'll be – Alabama's dang good. You're just seeing all different styles, all different conferences. Again, Bama would be playing like a team that they –
Also, the other thing I want to mention right now with BYU going to the Sweet 16 is every BYU fan listening to this is the kind of night you sit there and you watch Scott Van Pelt's Sports Center and you consume every single podcast and national media outlet talking great about your team for the next 5 days. It's the greatest feeling in the world.
You see,
if your team goes to the Super Bowl, it's just 2 weeks of nonstop. Like, this is unbelievable. Yes. Oh, you're just listening to every single thing about your team. Cherish this. It doesn't happen too often. Hopefully it keeps happening every single year, but this is just unbelievable, man.
Absolutely. Nolan Mickelson says, Mr. Mag shut down Wisconsin at the buzzer, just like Mr. Mac shutting the doors at closing time. Mark Moody, he's become a regular. It says, book your flights to Newark. Need Cougar Nation to show up. You going, Mark?
Take Chase.
Down to go with you.
Let's
make it happen.
Me, Chase, you, my wife. I booked a king bed.
Let's make it happen. Shout out Bridger Moo, says number 25 definitely likes Wendy's. I think he's going to like Wendy's nuts joke, going for one of those.
Send some. You guys can send D's nuts joke in the chat.
We love Wendy's.
I'll fall for it.
Nelvin Wilson goes, we want Bama, classic chant. Alex Beach was with a little clarification, so that the 31's from Wisconsin, and that's all it was. He was kind of repeating, but he says his parents are going to wave the BYU flag across town.
Nice.
And then he says, how about that ref show? It wasn't great, folks. Noah Nicholson says, best bench in America. That might be a legitimate argument there.
Yeah, I'd probably say 2 or 3. I'd put Duke
They're
1.
up there. Yeah, that's fair.
And everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you like Duke?" And you're
Go watch Duke.
They got NBA players on the bench.
Go watch Duke play basketball. Yeah,
I guess BYU does with Cannon.
True. They didn't even have to play.
He didn't play. He got a DNP.
Yeah. Jack Carpenter says the Costco guys work in the gym with BYU. Cannot be understated. Remember we talked about
that's going to be a callback to like 3 years from now when we're doing this.
It is. And
the Costco guys are like canceled.
Yeah. Oh,
not the Rizzler though. He's uncancelable.
We're gonna have to release a statement. Shout out Nash Talks Texas. Says,
let's go, my guy Nash. Shout out Texas. Rodney Terry out of here. Go get yourself a good coach, Nash.
Yeah. He says all we do is win, Carter.
Let's go. He's riding the BYU train. He's my guy.
Let's go. Jack says maybe Mika and I F around and go to Newark, IDK. We might need you there. Both of you. You might be good luck.
Yeah, Jack, you guys might have to F around and come to Newark.
Might have to.
Well, hey, Jack, if you come to Newark, you, Mika, me, my wife, John's a Bleecker. Let's do this.
Oh, best pizza in town. Thomas C530 says, what are the pros and cons of playing either Alabama or St. Mary's? Really good question.
Really good question. So I talked a little bit about Alabama. The pros is, like I said, the 2s are available, and I think BYU has a much better BYU is much more physical than Alabama. Alabama's a very finesse, soft team that just wants to shoot 3s. They just looked at the Boston Celtics matched with the Golden State Warriors and said, let's just copy that. We just have much worse players, but if we just shoot that many 3s, they're just playing math because he's a math teacher, Nate Oates is. So the 2s are going to be open, more physical BYU will be. So that's the pros there, and I think they'll get a lot of easy buckets in that game. And then the St. Mary's one is that I think BYU is also more physical than them. And also, if BYU gets St. Mary's out of the game they want to play, then St. Mary's is absolute toast. Randy Bennett is one heck of a coach, and St. Mary's rarely gets out of their game. But if BYU forces them into an up-and-down game, even just a little bit, BYU can blow the doors wide open with that game.
Wide open. Let's not...
And then the cons on the other side is if St. Mary's slows that game down, then BYU, all of a sudden, does it go back to what we saw in early January where the ball sticks a little too much? Get ISO ball. BYU taking that, F it, chuck it up, Jaeger 3 at the end of the shot clock. And then on the flip side with Alabama, the con is simply if Alabama gets hot from 3, they can beat anybody in the country. That includes Florida and Duke and BYU.
Couldn't agree more. The one thing about St. Mary's, a lot of BYU fans will be like, "Oh my gosh, it's like the demons coming out." You know, they just could never get over the hump with this team. On paper, you really want to play St. Mary's over.
Yeah, I'd much if you're looking at the matchups, I'd much rather play St. Mary's over Alabama. But BYU can match up with either team. There's no doubt about it.
100%. Ethan Holiday says Mags Security Prison. Love that. Man, he was so good.
He was awesome at the end there. And look, we talked about this even in the VCU game where Mag was playing really good defense. Dudes were just knocking down shots.
They were hitting them in his eye. Today, a lot of the Tanji stuff wasn't necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of one-on-one things where you're like, he's just good. The switches were pretty poor today, and then led to some wide open 3s for Wisconsin.
It's okay. They moved on.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about anything bad. Jack, shout out Shrimpy Jacks. An OG for real says, not gonna lie, what a year for y'all to start the pod. What a game.
Yeah, we got lucky, man. We got real lucky, and shout out all of you for tuning in.
Yeah.
Y'all are the ones who make it happen, and shout out the Field of 68 for allowing us to do this. And yeah, it's awesome. It's the best thing in the world. Like, you guys have no idea after a BYU win how happy Chase and I are to grab these mics and talk to you guys.
Yeah, especially tonight. Nolan Mickelson says, shout out to the Road Rock for showing up in the Mile High City. Yeah, if y'all were there and you're in the chat, like, tell us about it. It looked awesome.
Pat yourselves on the back, too.
It looked amazing. Tons of blue. You heard the chants. You just could tell the difference when BYU did something at the cheers, the boos when the calls or whatever. Yeah. Like, it seemed like it was Marriott East.
Yeah,
Marriott East out there at Ball Arena. So I want to hear from y'all. If y'all are in the chat right now, you're watching, you were at the game in person. I know my guy Jack was. A lot of you were. Tell us how it was. Tell us your experience. I am a Colorado native. Tell us everything about it. What you did, what you were chilling with. Man, what a game to be at too. Oh,
What a game.
yeah. Let's keep going here. JABS 5665. Your name is Jennifer. Says, will Baker have to sit out any of the next game for the flagrant? Hope not. I don't think so.
Need to double check. I think they review that, but since it was such a BS call and nothing was really there, I don't think he gets suspended. So
yeah, I think
like
so.
if it was like a bad enough flagrant where he'd like blatantly punch someone in the face, then the suspension probably comes from there. And I'm sure we'll see an official thing like on Monday morning where it's like, hey, Baker's cleared to play or whatever. Is my assumption. It's not guaranteed.
They're gonna the NCAA will like look at his picture and be like, we're gonna suspend this guy.
They're gonna watch the film and be like, well, you're wasting my time. What are we doing here?
Exactly. He should be available.
Last thing I want to mention real quick. The best part about this is, if you're a BYU fan, is that you watch this game and you get to watch Sunday stress-free.
Oh, you don't have to stress for 6 days.
I know.
Just wait till Thursday, man. Just have your fun. Watch the cut. Enjoy it all.
Yeah.
Nelvin Wilson says AJ's future team. I love that. That's the new.
Yeah.
Call BYU that from now on. Keeps getting better and better with transfer portal options. Just keep winning.
Yeah, and the other thing on top of that is obviously BYU is already a big player in the recruiting game, but now there is real tangible things that this coaching staff and this program can point to in recruiting, saying, look what we did in year one. If we bring you X 5-star recruit, if we bring you in, just imagine what we can do with you. Imagine what we did with a guy like Richie Saunders, what we can do with you, what you can develop into. The recruiting pitches are just going to be through the roof.
BYU was already kind of the talk of the town a little bit in college basketball with the AJ stuff, the NIL money. Then they started to get hot in the Big 12.
Yeah.
This is just like putting it over the top. And the preseason like rankings and expectations this next season are going to be through the roof. We don't even talk about next season.
No, and I would say
you're building momentum.
And I would say next season, like, don't be surprised if BYU is a top 10 team. And I also think I will say a little bit something to note going into next season is the expectations are going to be absolutely through the roof. There comes a lot more pressure and a lot more disappointment at that same time. Yep. BYU loses a November neutral site game and you go, well, I thought this was a Final Four team. This is a top 10 team in the country. What's going on here? The sky won't be falling or anything. It's still going to be a bit of a new thing, especially with a guy like AJ coming in. But that's what you want. If you're a big program, that's what you want.
Absolutely. And this was the stepping stone. We talked about this, the VCU game. You just need to break the stigma. You're building your own right now. C. Carson says, love this team. Boy, I do too. One of my favorite teams I've ever watched. Obviously, we've been so close to them, so it helps. Noah Mickelson says they are saving catchings for Thursday. Maybe he's still not 100%. We'll see. And then he says, don't stay in Newark. It's pretty rough.
I have a hotel booked in a good spot in Manhattan. I've stayed there before.
All right.
Yeah, we're good.
Good call. Shout out Nolan. He did live there.
I'm still 50-50 if I'm going to go.
Yeah. Chris Bond says, many Saints coming to Newark. Hopefully you can travel. I know a lot of people. It was easy because it was Denver, and that was the huge advantage for BYU. Hopefully,
East Coast Cougs travel.
They do. I know BYU will always travel.
Yeah.
Just hopefully all y'all
stay in New York City, man. Just take the train.
Mark Obidog says KY did a great job. He's not a Tony Bennett or Brad Stevens.
Wait, hold up. Let me see that. Who's that?
Mark Obidog. It's like towards the middle.
Oh, dude. That's a burner.
Do we know who this is?
That's a burner. My father's in the chat.
No way.
Joey.
Show yourself, Joey.
Joey's in the chat.
Show yourself.
Joey's burner has been exposed. I didn't know Joey was a part of the burner verse. My father. He said he's not Tony Bennett or Brad Stevens, though.
Dude,
I think he is.
Joey loves him.
Joey loves
Stevens.
Yeah, dude. I always make fun of him, too, because John Wooden, he loves John Wooden. John Wooden can't do a thing wrong, and I always make a point to show him that, like, hey, once this booster came in, all of a sudden John Wooden started winning a bunch of games. He was paying these recruits. He goes, there's no proof. He didn't do it. And then I throw the same thing back at him. I'm like, Coach K didn't pay recruits, so you didn't ever get caught with anything. And all of a sudden, I'm wrong, Joey? Come on.
Welcome, Joey. It's good to have you in here. Clayson Tate says, was in attendance. It was crazy. I'm glad you got to go. I'm like, it's
We're jealous.
Core memory. I'm very jealous.
But hey, we got to watch in the dojo. That was lit. That was
Dojo
awesome.
was great, man. Watching it with the boys is a different type of.
Hey,
feeling.
there was not a single ounce of natural light in this place. We were in the nitty gritty of it.
It got, what was funny, I mean, like, because we're getting hype, we're standing up, right, when every big shot, it got real quiet. That last, like, 2 minutes.
It's just like a therapy session. Everyone, I mean, a lot of repenting's going to have to go on after the words that were being said once Wisconsin got that ball back.
Yeah, not from all of us, but no,
not from all of us.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris Bond says that's a graphic right there. Many Saints of Newark poster with BYU basketball players. Moose shout out Moose says,
send that to JY.
What was JY? Shout out. What was the best win over the last decade? Was that the best win over the last decade?
Oh, without question.
Easily. I mean, everyone might say like that Gonzaga win with the the Haas and Toulson and the team. Listen, that was so sick. They did not go to the Sweet 16 after that. This is the biggest win. Hey, Zach, stop calling me. I know you're watching. Anyway, go ahead.
I would go as far to say this is bigger than even Jimmer winning that second round game against Gonzaga.
Yeah, this is bigger. It's better. You were the underdog.
BYU was favored, and BYU was favored in that game. It was expected. This is the biggest win since Danny Ainge going to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think so. I can't name a bigger one. I don't
know. This is it. You were a dog going against the 3 seed in Wisconsin. You're going to the Sweet 16. This is it. This is the second biggest win in BYU basketball history.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, and maybe some older people would disagree with us, and if you do, tell us in the chat. But I don't see a better one.
I know there's one old guy in the chat.
Shout out. Let's see here. Moose also says, what a game. The team plays with such heart and composure. They're such a tough out. Couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. It's just so like, they've won me over. I feel good about them. I unless they play Houston, I like them against anyone.
Yeah.
I like them against anyone. Jack Carpenter says, Torchy's on Broadway is popping. All blue. You ever been to Torchy's?
I went.
Tacos?
Do they have one? They have one in Austin, Texas, don't they?
Very big Texas thing. It's made its way to Colorado. It's great.
Yeah, I went during BYU Texas. Was it like 2 years ago in Austin? It was pretty good. I liked it.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good spot. And Jack's out there. I mean, I think he's been. If you follow his Twitter, he's been like 5 times already.
I respect that. That's what I do when I go home to North Carolina. I'm home for like 3 days. I'm like, well, it's 1 a.m. I got to go get cookout. Every East Coast BYU fan's going to know. They're like, holy crap, dude, some cookout sounds great right now.
Clayson Tate says, was at the game. Tons of Big Ten fans in attendance, so it was loud in there. They didn't want BYU to win. That's surprising because wasn't Michigan before? Wouldn't they be cheering against Wisconsin?
Yeah, I don't know.
He would know better.
Or
than
unless
us. He was there.
Unless they're like have a deal with Arizona fans or something.
Maybe.
Nice little callback there.
Connor Jensen, shout out our old classmate Connor Jensen.
Shout out.
Just sent a link that I cannot see. I think it's a tweet by Antonio Brown, so maybe it's a good thing that's not popping.
Wait,
up.
You and I were crackers of the day?
For sure, it wasn't Stephen Ashworth cracker of the day. If we made cracker of the day, that'd be pretty special.
I think it's going to be Richie with some tater tots. This is going to be my guess.
I think that's exactly who it is. Let us know, Connor, though. Nolan Mickelson says you have to go to Newark next Saturday, BYU versus Duke, for a trip to San Antonio. It's not going to get too
there's a game on Thursday first, buddy. But I will do my best. I'm doing my absolute best to be there. Final Four is already booked. Don't worry.
And then our guy, RJ Osgothorpe, says, I agree. Second biggest win ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has to be.
It doesn't get better than this.
It doesn't get better than this.
Remember when we said, Carter, and we've talked about this, but we said we'd rather have a Big 12 championship than this?
That was the dumbest take of all time. You got shame on us. We deserved every bit of hate in those comments. Oh my gosh, dude, 2 idiots. I need to quote tweet that and just be like, oh, what? Yeah, Eric Mika, shout out our guy. Yeah, I'm glad he got us on that one. We needed to get stopped in our tracks.
Yeah, we were wrong.
This is 1 billion% better. Awesome. I mean, think about it right now. You look at one. I mean, so Big Ten champ Michigan, they're in the Sweet 16. Houston, Big 12 champ, they're in the Sweet 16. Duke's got to play Baylor, they're ACC champ. and then Big East champ, St. John's.
They would much rather be in the Sweet 16 right now.
Ooh, I don't know. It might be a little different with the Big East playing in the Garden.
If you would ask
that one
St.
might
John's
be
fan,
a smidge different. If you ask him right now, obviously it still stings with Arkansas, but I almost argue that St. John's fans would now if it's Final Four, Big East title, I think it's a very different story.
Yeah.
But I think St. John's fans really wanted that Big East title.
I mean, I'd be interested to ask a St. John's fan if there's any in the chat.
Yeah, let's just call Rosillo.
Yeah.
I got his number.
That's a Vermont guy. Moose says, cookout, heck yeah. He says, I'll take a strawberry cheesecake shake with the burger and double hush puppies.
Double hush puppies. All right. I'm a big double burger guy, Cajun fries, and then white cheddar bites. Huge Mr. Pibb light ice. I used to go Cheerwine when I'm in middle school. Cheerwine's good and all, but it's cool. It's like 3 sips are great, and then you're like, okay, I'm good. That might be a bad take. People might hate that.
People might.
Yeah.
Nolan Mickelson says, is BYU now a football school or a basketball school?
Oh, that's an awesome question. Give me basketball.
Give me basketball because...
Well, why not? Why not both? Why can't this just be Tebow, Florida, and Al Horford, Joakim Noah, Billy Donovan, Florida? Why not?
Why not? I mean, man, Florida was in the heyday, dude.
Yeah, imagine being a student there.
Oh my gosh. Look, it's tough, and we're a little biased. We're basketball guys because if you ask most people, they're like football. Football brings in more money. Football's the bigger thing. All this stuff. But basketball has something cooking right now that football just doesn't. And I don't mean to offend any football. And they had an awesome season. But basketball has the number one player in the country coming. They have the quite possibly maybe the largest endowment of NIL in all of college basketball. And they have the momentum that no one else does to play with the big boys that football just doesn't have. They had an awesome season. They were so sick. And that was also fun to enjoy. Basketball just has something different now. They are more of a power in basketball than they are in football.
Maybe football gets some big recruits soon.
Maybe some of that money makes its way to the football field.
Yeah, maybe they get a big commit soon. Who knows?
Yeah, Gleason Tate just responded to Noah. He said both, man.
Both, yeah.
Both.
Yeah, right on. Who says no?
Why not? Why not both? Oh man, everyone take a deep breath and just enjoy.
If you're wondering, Tennessee's whooping UCLA right now.
Are they really? I mean, we did get, I don't know if y'all saw, brackets updated already.
Sharpie. BYU Sharpie.
Sharpie, that thing. Dude, Seth Davis he's looking good right now.
He is looking good.
I'm not going to lie. That was also, I mean, we already mentioned it. That was the best game of the tournament. And the fact that BYU got to be a part of it and win it is like so sweet.
Unbelievable.
So sweet.
Unbelievable.
Chat's slowing down a little bit. We do got this from RJ Osgothorpe says, I don't know if I'm saying that right, man, but he says, genius move by Kevin Young to flip the narrative on BYU teams folding against aggressive teams with his BYU is doing the punking line. The team bought in. He is an incredible coach. Couldn't agree more. That line, I'm sure, that line's famous because it was filmed and in the cut and everything, but that was the mentality change, that BYU wasn't going to get pushed around. They're doing the punking now. They in their own way, they punked Wisconsin tonight. They were more physical. They dictated the pace of that game, and they got it done.
Oh, we got to do a quick shout out real quick. I love him. He's our guy. But Jonathan Tavernari tried to jinx BYU.
Yo, JT, holy crap, dude! What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
JY just hit us up and said wings for everybody.
Does JY want to hop on?
We can send him the Zoom link.
Let's get JY on this, dude. And that's coming from JY, who hates wings. Hates wings. Shout out Justin Young. Shout out your brother. He coached a heck of a game.
He did coach a heck of a game,
man.
Yeah, he coached one heck of a game. I mean, just like you mentioned, the rotations and figuring out the lineups and everything, and also just a credit to each one of these dudes staying ready when it's just so hard to stay in rhythm in times like that. We've talked about that so much, but it is such a key thing. There's a reason cliches are a thing, Chase, because look, you just repeat them so often that it's just because they're true. It's the fundamentals, basically. And this still reigns true. It is so freaking tough to play a basketball game when you're coming in and out and you're not in rhythm at all. And all of these dudes step up somehow and play aggressive and knock down shots.
It really is. It's unique. It's impressive, and it's working. It's working. I think there was 10 guys that played this game. All of them had an impact in their own way. They all did amazing. Even guys like Dallin Hall didn't score a single point. I think he had 5 or 6 assists, controlled the offense there at the end. Did have that turnover, but that's besides the point. We're not mentioning those. All these dudes. Richie Saunders is in his own right, obviously with the tater tot thing, becoming one of the faces of college basketball. He is still. Every time I'm like, how did he just score 20 plus points? It's so quiet, but it's so consistent. The things that he does, being aggressive and staying aggressive. I could go on about each of these players, man. I mean, Foose with big buckets there, Cabo with, was just an absolute force on defense.
For sure.
To the point where I'm like, if a guy's going for a layup, I'm like, I'm pretty sure Cabo's going to block this. There's a good shot he's blocking this.
Yeah, for sure. Any more chats?
No more chats. It's slowed down. I think people are getting a little tired. But
yeah,
shout out everyone in there, though.
Shout out everyone in there. We're about 45 minutes into this thing right now. I want to promo some things real quick. I will be live actually on CarterCast, YouTube, and Twitter very shortly after this. So if you want to talk about more college basketball stuff, we'll talk about this game as well, and talk about games going forward, national college basketball stuff. We'll be live on here. Are you headed out right after this?
I got to head.
Okay, that's fine.
But everyone tune in. It's always
and then the other thing is Chase and I, we're going to watch the St. Mary's Alabama game, and then obviously do some prep, watch some more film. And then Monday morning, we're going to record our BYU preview against the winner of that game, and that'll be out. So we'll put out a promo tweet tomorrow evening-ish. And if you have questions or things you specifically want to know about this game and what we think, make sure to tweet at us. We'll put that tweet out there, a little promo with the thumbnail and everything. And so be tuned. It'll be out early Monday afternoon, our preview for BYU in the Sweet 16. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything, hit us up on Twitter. Our DMs are open as well. So don't hesitate. Make sure to reach out to us.
Yeah, and we love the interaction, guys. We love answering your questions. So we're happy to. And let us know what you think about the matchup in that game, because it'll be fun to watch. And
yeah,
I just can't believe BYU is playing the second weekend.
This is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. I could care less who they're playing, because at this point I like them against anyone, and at this point it's just great to be here. But the other thing about this BYU team, man, they're not dogs. This is not a 12 seed doing something special. This is a legitimate team. These are dudes.
No, and we talked about that a little bit on CarterCast stuff. It's like, look, the first weekend, the first couple of days were really boring. I thought it stunk. I thought it was one of my least favorite tournaments I had watched the first couple of days. Kind of dud games. But it just sets up for an unbelievable round of 32, Sweet 16, and throughout the tournament. And we saw that today. Arkansas, St. John's today. Look, 90 missed shots in that game, but it was still a super exciting game and just back and forth basketball. That game should have been played at Rucker Park, dude. Double rims, no rest, just get out of here. Let's play ball. That game was ridiculous. 2 Italians coaching too.
They're dripped up, dude.
Yeah, I know. I love that Patina during the game or before the game was like, look, we're both Italians, love basketball. That's all we got. That's our only similarities.
Yeah, that had a little juice to it. I feel like the second round's already been better, and next weekend is going to be electric.
Thursday, Friday night. Oh, and you know what's great too? It was like with the Sweet 16, I love the first round's the best. First round, second round are the best. These 4 days are the greatest days of the year. But I do love that people don't have to take off work for the Thursday, Friday games, and everybody can tune in, and it's prime time, and everybody's locked in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And one more day of all day basketball, and then we'll get to the real sweet games, man. BYU will be one of the last 16 teams in all of college basketball. One of the last 16 teams in the running for a national.
Let me ask you this: do you want BYU to play the first or second game in Newark?
Give me the second game. I like Cougs at night, and they're used to playing them. Plus, they got the time change, gives them a little more extra time in the morning to wake up, get things warmed up and ready to go. Give me second game.
I'm gonna say this, and I say it every episode, but I want to say it one more time, and this is to each of you out there listening right now as well. Think about what you thought of this team after the Utah game, and think about where they are now. Like, that in itself is coach of the year type stuff, and the momentum going into next year. Like, it's just not going to be a foreign thing to hear BYU talked about. BYU is going to be talked about on every single national show now.
Absolutely. This season was a success, regardless of what happened here. It is now legendary. We'll talk about it forever.
And now BYU sneaky might have the most marketable guy in the NCAA tournament right now outside of Cooper Flagg.
You talking about
Richie Saunders?
Oh, yeah. All of these guys are awesome. But yeah, Richie Saunders.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Richie Saunders is probably the second most marketable guy in the tournament. And it's tough with one season. We can't really market those dudes because they're playing nobody in the first round and a half, I guess, whatever. But BYU, they're going to be the talk of the town over the next week because you look at these other teams in the Sweet 16. You got Purdue. We know what Purdue is. Braden Smith has been here before. We know it. Kelvin Sampson in Houston. That's just Houston basketball. We understand that. And you look at these other teams. Out Arizona, we know Caleb Love. Duke, Cooper Flagg, obviously we just talked about that. Alabama, Mark Sears, they were there last year. St. Mary's doesn't have that one guy that you're like, oh, I can point to that guy. Kentucky, Illinois, I mean, those are just two Kentucky's just that blue blood around it, and we'll see what happens in that game. I like Illinois a lot in that game. And then Tennessee obviously moved on, but none of these other teams have super marketable guys. You're going to see Richie Saunders on every show this week. I bet, shout out our guy Tyson Jex. He's probably getting hit up for every media request at every big show in the country right now to get Richie Saunders and Kevin Young on.
I mean, this might be maybe not because of maybe the AJ week. That announcement was a little bit more crazy. I don't know. This might be the craziest week of his life.
Yeah, he's he ain't sleeping. So shout out Tyson.
May.
Yeah, it's gonna be and you just go through it like even like Janai Broom. Like it's not Richie Saunders is that guy.
He really is, and he's a great guy to talk to. He's super personable. And I think he gives pretty good answers. I mean, all those BYU guys are pretty well PR.
They're really
Shout
well
out
PR
Tyson
trained.
again. They're pretty well.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. So anyhow, do we want to wrap up?
Yeah, we can wrap up. Chat slowed down. Just the OGs saying, shout outs. Jack says, "Let's go, boys. Thanks for the breakdown." GGs and Jack Carver says, "Shout out Church Ball." Shout out you guys. We couldn't do it without you. And what a ride it's been. And you all have been there with us through the highs and the lows, and this really is the sweetest, not to be punny, the sweetest outcome that could have happened, and we're just grateful you all are here with us.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I said the word unbelievable about 400 times on this podcast, and it's warranted. So anyhow, make sure to subscribe at Church Ball Pod. We're going to be putting out a ton of stuff this week. We're going to have a lot of fun stuff planned for you. Throughout the week. We'll put out a ton of content. Hopefully we can lock down an interview before the Sweet 16 game. And then also at Chase_Rogers0, at Karter B8, at Church Ball Pod on everything. Hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, 5-star review. If you're watching on the Field of 68 Podcast Network YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Go check out the Field of 68 After Dark. They do a ton. They're doing live streams nonstop this weekend. Go check them out. Ton of good stuff over there. And Chase, we'll be back Monday, still previewing this team. We got another week to talk about this team. Season's not over, man. Season's not over. We'll be back Monday late morning, early afternoon for our sweet BYU Sweet